Welcome to Beacon of Speech. I'm Fred Hunt. That's Ted Coley. Hi, Ted Coley.
Hi, Fred Hunt.
How are you today?
Awesome.
We are having a spectacular day here. We are back at the Ted Coley Secret Studios.
Compound.
Yeah. Ted's getting his glasses. This is Beacon of Speech. What is Beacon of Speech? We are selling freedom of speech to everybody. We're going to have to change our philosophy pretty soon because I think we're only going to have freedom of speech for me and you. We're going to declare our own little country here. We're going to have, within these walls, this is going to be the kingdom of Beacon of Speech. And we're going to start taking away freedom of speech to everybody else. You know why? Because I read something horrible this week, right? Do you know why you can kick off right-wing if you are a platform, if you are a server, if you are a web hosting company? The best way you can perform your freedom of speech as a corporation is to kick out people whose speech you don't agree with. Isn't that awesome?
Mm-hmm.
So, which goes back to our philosophy. Free speech is under constant assault in America today. The problem is it's coming from two places it's very hard to fight. PC madness from the left and right from corporations. Corporations want to quelch all speech that does not agree with what they say. And people are getting fired and people are getting kicked off
Is
a
it
platform.
quelch or squelch?
Squelch. I said quelch.
That's sort of like quench, and you're thinking of
Yes,
quench.
I'm making up new words. See? We are making up new words here at Beacon
Oh,
of
it's
Speech.
freedom of speech. You can do whatever you want.
I can do whatever the hell. The only limits to free speech are pure evil. Now, certain neo-Nazis are pure evil. That is true. Certain communists are pure evil. That is true also. But now we're starting to, again, I told you this on the phone before we set this up. There's a Christian group, and it's like Christians for Christians for Republicans, or Republican Christians. Now they're getting labeled as a hate group. And now all of a sudden, their hate group, their hate group, their hate group, their hate group. There's very few real hate groups in America. Okay, the Klan's a hate group. Okay, and the purest form of the Klan is pure hate, right? So if you want to ban certain Klan activities, I don't have a problem with that, right? And if you want to ban certain things, we're gonna pretend like we're Pol Pot and everybody's making the same amount of money and we're gonna kill all the educated and we're gonna kill all the poor people and just have one working class, okay? And that's the other pure evil. And other than that, this is America. We have free speech, and it is getting nasty out there. It's getting to be a slugfest.
Mm-hmm.
If you stick up for the right, you know what you are? You're a Nazi. If you stick up for the left, then you're a communist. And there's very few people. Everybody's trying to paint their enemies into that corner, but there's actually very few people in those corners.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that's true?
Yes.
Now.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, the ends of the spectrum are what, maybe 5%?
I don't even think it's 5%.
Yeah,
I think it's like 1% on each side.
Yeah, but they're trying to make it seem like it's 50 on one side, 50 on the other. You know what I mean? You're either on one side or the other.
And I'm telling you, something glitched on the thing. I'm not used to it glitching. Half of all Americans don't give a rat's ass. They don't know up from down. I read something from it was George Orwell. He wrote 1984, and they said the revolution will be bloodless. People will not look up from their TV screens to notice what's going on, and that's where we're going in America. There's not that much hate because everybody's online. They're watching the new season of Game of Thrones. They're watching the fight. They're watching a football game. They're gambling. You know how easy it is to gamble nowadays? On your phones or, why would you do anything?
Yeah, that's something that we need to make easier.
6 people this week bet, and we're going to circle back around. 6 people this week bet $1 million that Floyd Mayweather was going to win the fight. Now, I don't have a problem with that, but If you were a millionaire, Ted, would you ever bet $1 million on anything? Would you bet $1 million on a coin flip, on a football game, on a baseball game?
Well, what did they win? If they bet $1 million, because he was the favorite, right?
Yeah, I think on $1 million, I think they win 500,000. So you get your $1 million back, and then you get 500,000. But I think that's a steep bet. You know what I mean? There's not a high net loss there. You know what I mean? Because I read something about how, the study of where the money was moving and everything. So, but at the end of the day, the reason I bring up the speech, okay, is the statues don't matter. The speech, almost all speech is free speech, and everybody's trying to take it away. What matters in real life, okay? And what matters in real life is life or death, natural disasters, okay? We have something real in America that's going on right now, and it is going to define the Trump presidency. All this other rigmarole, you're a Nazi, you're not a Nazi, you're a racist, you're not a racist, all that doesn't matter, okay? And we're going to use your house, okay, as an example. I know you love it when I do this. My wife says, are they going to have problems in Texas? And I said, yes, they're going to have a boatload of problems in Texas.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. The reason being, Galveston has been hit by catastrophic hurricanes 3 or 4 times in the last 100 years. It's not that they were ready for the hurricane, but they were more or less ready, okay? The shore, the Texas shore, they've been hit by hurricanes before. They said evacuate or die. The one mayor where the hurricane came on board, right? I don't know if you heard this or not, but he said, if you didn't evacuate, please take a Sharpie and write your social security number on your arm. Did you hear this?
Yeah, I think I did hear that.
Please write your social security number on your arm so when you die, we can identify who you are, right? Which is great. I mean, nothing like scaring the crap out of people to make them do, what you need them to do. Now, they were more or less ready, okay, because they've had hurricanes before. And you're going to be as ready as you're going to be. The problem is in Houston, okay? The problems that we're having now is going to be a catastrophic event, a once-in-a-generation catastrophe, okay? And this is why we're going to use your house as an example, okay? You live in Cleveland, okay? I live on the very edge of Cleveland. You live, if we throw a rock, we could probably hit Cleveland, right? If Cleveland got 4 feet of rain tomorrow, and then the next day, 4 feet of rain, what happens to Ted's house?
Oh, it would be flooded.
Everything's flooded. No metropolitan area in America can withstand 4 feet of water. None. If 4 feet of water hit New York City, Los Angeles, Atlanta, Cleveland, Detroit, 4 feet of water, you are screwed, no matter what. Because even if you're on the, we got a valley right here. The valley view would be underwater, the whole place.
Oh, yeah.
But even up here, up on the hill, once your sewers back up, there's still nowhere for the water to go. It's going to back up a few feet before it drains down and kills Valley View, right? Cities are not equipped to handle 4 feet of water. They're just not. So now that place is sitting, now that storm is sitting on Houston, this is real life or death. Millions of people who are like, well, we're not on the coast. We're fine. We're in Houston.
And it's basically not moving,
No,
right?
it hit shore, and then it stalled. They said it might not move for a day. And they said it was 3 inches of rain an hour
and
earlier today.
This is today. Houston.
Houston, and again, they're not right on the coast. They're inland.
Yeah.
When Katrina hit New Orleans, if you remember, New Orleans was underwater. And they didn't have anything to do with all those people because New Orleans was underwater. They all went to Houston. Well, guess what? There's a lot of poor people in Houston. Now, me and you sitting at home, okay? We know that it's going to be a catastrophic mess in Houston just by the example of, say there was 4 feet of rain in our house. We would be screwed. You'd be screwed. I'd be screwed. You'd be more screwed because you're closer to the city. I'm farther out in the country. But we'd be screwed in different ways. Okay? No urban landscape in America can take 4 feet of rain. Now, I'm not talking about Bombay or whatever, where they get 200 inches of rain, in India, okay? Or Laos or what's Ho Chi Minh City? What's that now? It's not Ho Chi Minh City, is it? It's, do we have to get out the globe?
I'm not sure what it is.
We're going to get out the globe. Your globe probably says Ho Chi Minh City, though. I don't want to knock over your stuff, okay? Where is Vietnam? Vietnam, right?
Well, wouldn't it be...
Da Nang?
It wouldn't still be Ho Chi Minh City because...
Oh, no, it is. It's Ho Chi Minh City. So I was right. I thought they changed the name.
There's probably no longer a Saigon, right?
Oh, yeah. Fall of Saigon. Saigon changed her name. I knew somebody changed her name. I'm not a history major of Vietnam.
Yeah, because the North won.
Right.
And Ho Chi Minh was...
But I just wrote about it this week on the Beacon of Speech website. When George Bush did not send help to New Orleans, okay, he was racist. You remember that, correct? Now, George Bush was not racist. He was an idiot, okay? Now, if you knew the geography of New Orleans, I learned, like, reading a National Geographic that New Orleans was underwater, okay? So when Katrina hit, the local authorities were overwhelmed. The state authorities were inept, right? And then the federal response was slow, right? If you notice, other cities along the Gulf Coast were not catastrophically destroyed like New Orleans was, okay? So, what we're coming into is another Katrina situation where Donald Trump is sitting at the White House. He's on Twitter, sending out tweets. This sucks. This is awesome. This sucks. Watch the MTV Music Awards tonight, whatever Trump's talking about today, right? He says, closely monitoring Texas, okay? If he has a brain in his head, Donald Trump is going to get federal troops out there because they cannot handle it, okay? Now, let's just say hypothetically they could handle it, okay? Well, you send troops there, better safe than sorry. What's the harm in sending federal troops? Okay? The reason you send federal troops is because your infrastructure is now gutted. Your infrastructure is underwater, right?
Now, does the state has to agree to him sending federal troops, right? The state...
I think...
The state can say, no, we don't want it.
Correct.
They can say, no, we don't want it. He has to ask. He can't just...
Right. I think you are correct. Which goes back to Louisiana was like, oh, no, we got it. We got it under control. And don't get me wrong, George Bush was wrong. George Bush should have known what a cluster F it was going to be. Okay? And he didn't. But Trump...
Yeah, but did he offer, like, right away? And they said...
No. And every time he's like, well, I'm going to fly over. Well, that doesn't really help. What helps is sending in troops to secure perimeters, making sure people are getting clean water. There's no price gouging. They don't send the price of gas to $12 an hour. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how the troops help. And that's why you need to have troops. Well, you're like, oh, well, you're declaring martial law. No city in America can take 4 feet of water, period. Ted, think of 4 feet of water at your front door, okay? Do you think there'd be trouble in your neighborhood? And I don't mean neighborhood. I mean, your city, right?
Man.
I know there'd be trouble in my city because, excuse me. Apparently I shouldn't drink that pop. There's going to be problems because you can't get to the gas station. You can't get to the place. You can't flush the toilet. You know what I mean? So you're running out of clean stuff. And your stuff that you have is waterlogged. And that's why this is so critical. And this is why I want to make a prediction. Okay? I think tomorrow, Monday, the shit's going to hit the fan. Okay? First of all, Houston, again, it's mostly Houston. They told people, you don't have to evacuate, we should be fine. And then they're like, oh crap, maybe you should evacuate it. And then they said, go wait in your attic. And they're finding that the floodwaters are coming up so high, right, that people are getting stuck in their attics. They're like, don't go to your attic, go to your roof and we'll come get you. Well, they said, if you go in your attic, make sure you have a fire axe, right? And this is real stuff. This is what a president is supposed to be elected to be ready for, right? So I am going to predict, okay, that if there are no federal now Trump might be more on the ball than Bush was. Okay, Trump might come out tomorrow morning and say again Monday, and say, listen, we're going to send in the troops whether Texas needs it or not. Texas is a important part of America. This is a biblical flood. This is Noah territory. Okay, we're going to send in the troops. Or he could come out on Monday and say, well, you know what, Texas got it under control, and I think I want to pass healthcare reform, right? And if that happens, which I'm not sure that Trump is on the ball, I'm going to say by Monday morning.
That's tomorrow.
Which is tomorrow. Today is Sunday. What is today?
27th?
27th. On Monday the 28th, that you're going to see catastrophic problems, and somebody on the news is going to say that Trump is a racist. Trump is a racist for not having federal troops in there. Now, is he a racist for not having federal troops in there? Last time I checked, Houston, a lot of this rain's happening in the suburbs, and they said that the suburbs are developed, kind of like my suburb, where if you get a big rainstorm, it doesn't run off. So it's downtown Houston, but it's also the suburbs, right? So I am going to predict that if there are no troops, that Trump will be called a racist tomorrow morning. Trump racist if no troops in Texas. Now, I don't think that makes him a racist. It makes him a dope, like George Bush. Okay? Now, I'm going to turn around to you, Ted Coley, and I set it all up about the Texas flooding. What do you think is going to happen this week? Assuming they get the 4 feet. Like I said, they said some places already have 20 inches. So it's already a moot point. Almost 2 feet have fallen, like on the South Houston suburbs. So it's not like it's not going to come.
So is downtown Houston, is that flooded?
Yes.
And what, it's about 20 inches there?
No. I think they said 13 inches.
Okay.
But they said it just stopped. It just stopped. They're getting 3 inches of rain an hour today.
It just stopped today?
Yeah, well, the storm stopped. It came ashore. Now it's
so
sitting on Houston.
It's still raining.
It's raining in Houston, 3 inches an hour.
Well, it always seems like it ends up being worse than they originally thought. You know what I mean? Like when the storm first hits, they're like, oh, this isn't as bad as we thought. But in a day or two after all the rain comes, that's where all the problems come, is the flooding. But, my prediction is it's probably going to be about the third worst hurricane in terms of money damage.
So you are going on record, one of the top 3 storms in history, in American history. Now, have you been following it close?
Yeah, I've been following it.
Because I've been following it.
Not super close, but I have been.
Because I've been following it, and they keep saying it's not the wind, right? The wind's already done. They said it's already down to like a tropical storm. Yeah. It's the massive amounts of rain. And that's
Which is usually the case. And
what I don't understand is they keep saying they've been warning about this rain for at least 4 or 5 days. So, and when they show the forecasters, they're standing out there. So I don't understand why there's not federal troops there now. Now, it makes sense why you wouldn't send federal troops there to sit in a storm. You know what I mean? Then your troops are immobilized just like the people, right? But as soon as that storm starts to subside, they need to have those troops like on the outskirts ready to rock and roll.
I did see something kind of funny. I saw a couple wading through water that was basically thigh to, like their belt deep, and the lady was carrying an umbrella. I'm like, what's the point of that?
The funniest thing I saw was I'm on the Daily Mail, right? And I'm looking at the Daily Mail site. And it's got, catastrophic, what's Trump going to do? And it's got like 10 headlines. And then the 9th one said, what about the animals? So I clicked it on, and there's cattle wandering the streets, and there's dogs, and they're like, there's one under, There was one, it was horrible. It almost made me cry, right? And I don't usually care about the animal stories. But the dog is chained to the telephone pole, and the waters are like 6 inches deep, and the dog's just sitting there like, and I'm like, oh, that dog is so screwed. And you feel so bad. And at the end of the day, it's a dog, but you're like, that's horrible. You know what I mean? Now, if they had a person chained up to the telephone pole, I'd be like, oh, crap, that's even worse. But the dog picture was just so sad. And the viral picture that they're showing is...
Well, if somebody was there to take the picture of it, can't they...
Well, the
Can't
dog
they get
was...
the dog free?
The dog was in the water. You know what I mean? So the person who took the picture probably had a telephoto lens, and it was maybe a football field away from the dog. And the dog is in the water. He wasn't sitting on a dry spot. He's sitting in 6 inches of water, chained to a telephone pole. And I'm like, oh, that's so horrible. And it's not a stray dog, or else he wouldn't be chained there, right? And that's why I'm like, you know, last week, speaking of speech, was a downer, and this week we're talking about floods. But the whole point is, oh, I'm sorry, Ted, is that this is real. This is real stuff. This is not manufactured, who's in, who's out, who's gone, who's not. You know what I mean? This is what the federal government is set up for. In a catastrophic emergency, what are you going to do? Okay, well, I'm going to go on Twitter. Okay, now you like Trump. Do you think Trump is going to... Well, you said it's going to be one of the 3 worst storms in American history. Okay? Do you think that Trump is going to get a handle on it once things get... Once the shit hits the fan?
Yeah, I think he will. I think they'll do whatever they can to make it seem like he's not.
Okay, Ted has faith. Faith in Trump. We're writing that down. Okay, so we're making this prediction on the 27th, and we're just going to open it up next week and see how... Well, we're probably not doing it for Labor Day, but the week after. Well, hurricane results. Okay? Results.
Now, he doesn't have to get Congress's approval to do any of this, right?
I don't think so.
Well, that's good.
When they rebuild, I think he does. Okay? But in order to free up emergency money or send the troops, I think he has, like, leeway.
Yeah.
And again, he can't... I don't think he can declare martial law or anything. But I think the state government can impose a curfew, right? And then, again, you're worried about looting and stuff. But like I said, even the looters, you know, if in a riot, you know, you go loot downtown, right? You don't usually loot the neighborhoods, okay? Well, even the looters, they can't loot because they're at home stuck in the flood. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think the problem is going to be universal across the whole city. Now, there's going to be some spots that only get like 2 feet of rain instead of 4 feet. But Ted, again, same thing is here. Say we only got 2 feet of rain here at your house, but I got 4 feet. You're still partially screwed. You're just less screwed than I am. And again, you know, when I came up to your house, there's that big valley. I could see that whole valley filling up with 4 feet of rain because it's not, there's no capacity for it to drain. There's no historical precedent for it. Again, we're in Noah land.
I remember, I don't know if it was, I don't know if it was Katrina, but I think it was New Orleans. I remember seeing, they showed a clip of like a coffin like floating.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing.
Can you imagine seeing that?
Yeah, and they said Houston is not that far above sea level. Now, when we say any city's screwed, you know, like Denver is a mile-high city, okay? Well, it would probably, you know, drain off to the side. But, you know, most cities are founded on water, right? Cleveland's on the lake. Houston's basically there because it's right by the, you know, Gulf of Mexico. LA, New York are both on the oceans. Everything is on water. And it was funny, somebody tried to say, is it global warming? Well, this is the worst hurricane they've had in 12 years. It's not like they're coming every year. So I remember 2 catastrophic storms in 1979. They were David and Frederick. And they hit, like, one hit 1 week, 10 days later, the other one hit. I mean, I remember being a kid and hurricanes coming through like crazy.
And is a hurricane just the Earth's way of cooling itself off? Is that what It is?
I think the hurricane is there to make sure that man does not overpopulate. I think that's God's way of thinning the herd. All right.
So you're telling me that I'm not right on that?
No, we'll make a prediction. Well, whether they're saying the hurricane is thinning the herd or not. So anyhow, I wrote an article on Beacon of Speech that once we have money and once we have Beacon of Speech, we are going to put up statues of our own. Okay? I think we're going to, me and you got to decide what statues. And there's a physics guy, and he won the Nobel Prize in Physics twice. I think I'm going to put up a statue of him, and I think his name's John Bardeen. So, I'm going to put up a statue of him.
The guy who filled in for Rush Limbaugh this week said, you know how they have a statue of Robert E. Lee on a horse.
Yeah.
And he said maybe they should chisel out Robert E. Lee and put Caitlyn Jenner on the horse.
Well, Ted, again, that is not real stuff.
Like because he was saying, you know, okay, well, why do they have to knock the horse down too?
Right.
Like, what is a horse racist?
Right. Because and that's the whole thing. This week I have read they should take down statue of George Washington. They should take down statues of Christopher Columbus. Because Christopher Columbus came here as a conqueror, not as a, you know, we're in this together. He conquered the Indians. Okay, and I'm like, that was 1492. You know, we can't go back in time and fix that all up.
And once again, it took people over, 500 years to
over 500
be outraged
years
by this?
Yeah. And so that's why the whole statue thing is manufactured. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that people aren't offended, because they are. Okay? But, again, back to the whole premise of Beacon of Speech. Okay? Would you like a list of things that I'm offended by and I would like banned? Okay? We're going to start banning stuff I don't like. Okay? And I know I'm right, because that's the way I am. I'm arrogant and I know better. I know better than everybody else. I'm not sharing the America with everybody else. Okay, same thing goes for you. Can you think of things you'd like to be banned right off the top of your head?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you have to live with certain things. And again, the Nazis need to get banned. The neo-Nazis need to get banned. Okay, the ones who go out there and say, you know, we need to stir up trouble. They got a picture of a Nazi, right, at Charlottesville. Runs out, takes his gun, shoots at the counter-protesters, misses. Cops are standing right there, don't do anything. Okay? Well, that guy, he needs to be in jail, right? Even though he didn't hit anybody, he's preaching hate and acting on the hate. You know, that's assault.
Well, just like these people who are tearing the statues down, that's a criminal act.
Yeah, me and you have talked about this, and this is where Beacon of Speech differs from...
I mean, it's vandalism.
This is where freedom of speech differs from other freedom of speech sites, okay? I'm going to talk to I'm blue in the face. You're going to talk to your blue in the face, okay? Blah, 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 right? Once you take action, once you take the flag, and you light a match, that is not speech anymore. That is action.
Mm-hmm.
There is a statue, okay? Once you take that statue and you tip it over, that's an action, okay? Now, speech, you know, builds the parameters of actions, okay? That's all there is to it. Now, if you want to say freedom of speech, you can burn the flag, well then, like I said, we're going to come in, we're going to burn the Iranian flag, we're going to... Oh, no, I read some nice things about Iran this week, which I don't want to get into. We're going to burn the Saudi Arabian flag, okay? Because they're the ones who stir the pot, and they pretend like their crap don't stink. We're going to burn the Saudi Arabian flag, okay? But it's the same thing with the statues. I went on a field trip this week, okay? And so I go on the field trip, and I had some downtime. You know, the kids are running around wherever they were running, right? And I went to a cemetery. It was at Medina Country Club in Medina County, right? And there were 2 tombstones, and whoever died in them was from 1963 and 1962. and they were old limestone, not statues, but grave sites, and you could barely see the lettering and the numbers, and because it had rubbed off, because it's limestone.
Yeah,
right.
I know exactly what you mean because just a few weeks ago I was at a cemetery.
Okay.
And I saw some of those. And you literally cannot see what it says on there.
Yeah. And so the two of them, they were knocked over. Now, I don't think anybody was doing, we hate the northern soldiers. I think what happened is they were leaning and a storm hit and they fell over. The ground couldn't hold the weathered limestone.
Now, are you saying these were 1962 and 60?
I'm sorry, 18.
18.
I said 19, I meant 18. 1862. The only reason I know they're Civil War veterans is because they had that little brass star, that sticks out of the ground that shows they're veterans. I'm like, well, 1862, 1863, they had to fight for the North. And I'm like, they had fallen into disrepair on the property of a country club.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Well, think of all the other statues in America that it's the same basic premise. It costs money to keep statues up. And if you attack or knock down a statue, that is like burning the flag. Okay? And again, I'm not saying there's not people I don't hate and I wouldn't piss on their graves if I had the chance. Okay? But even the biggest enemy I've ever had who's dead, okay, I got someone in my head, I would not go and kick over their grave. I would not kick over a statue of them either. You see what I'm saying?
So you actually had an enemy.
Oh, yeah.
And he's dead?
Yep. Died of old age. I had nothing to do with it.
Do I know who this is?
No. I worked with him at Taco Bell a long time ago. No. You ever see movie Princess Bride?
Yeah.
When I worked at Taco Bell, the guy who hired me, and within a month, he's like, you don't do anything. All you do is do dishes. And I said, well, nobody does dishes. This is a boring story. Nobody at this Taco Bell does dishes all day long because nobody wants to wash dishes. So I would come in, they hired me as a closer for 20 cents. I was like, minimum wage was like $3.33, right? And they hired me for $3.50. They hired me for 15 extra cents as a closer. And all day long, all these people, they said, we don't want to do dishes. Okay, we don't like doing dishes. They hired me as a closer. And they said, Fred will do dishes. Okay? Because we tell him, and then he does it. And that's the way life is. So I would come in at 8 o'clock. I'd do dishes till close. And then I would go to, Tri-C, the community college, the next day. After about a month, the guy who hired me comes in and he goes, well, do you know how to make a taco? I said, no, I come in every day and I do dishes. Well, you need to know how to make a taco. Okay, well, then tell him not to have me do dishes all night, right? He goes, do you realize we're paying you 15 cents over minimum wage? I don't think you understand how much money you're making. And I'm like, I only do what the night manager tells me to do. And he goes, I'm telling you what, if I come in tomorrow and you don't know how to make a taco, I'm going to fire you, right? And I come in the next day, he goes, you know how to make a taco? I'm like, I don't have any idea how to make a taco. And he's like, well, we're going to replace you with somebody who knows how to make a taco. So we're looking, this started like right after I started, okay? So I would come in every night and wash dishes for hours. And then when I would see the guy, he'd be like, do you know how to make a taco yet? And I'm like, no, nobody showed me, right? And so he's like, well, we got to replace you. We need somebody who's going to wash all the dishes? If you wash dishes during the day, then I would know how to make tacos at night, right? And so this went on and on for months and months. And I eventually learned how to make a taco. And then once I learned how to make a taco, he'd be like, well, I don't understand why we're paying you 15 cents more an hour, right? If you don't know how to work the register, you know how to wash dishes and you know how to make a taco, but the other people know how to use the register. For 15 cents more an hour, need to know how to use a register. We're probably going to fire you. So it was like the dread Pirate Roberts, right? And every day he would threaten to fire me if I didn't learn how to do something because I was making 15 cents more an hour. Well, this went on for years and years, okay? And I learned to hate him because he was an a-hole, okay? And people are like, well, you don't understand. And, long story short.
You don't understand, Fred. He's been working since he was 16.
Yeah, exactly. So long story short is we worked together for 5 years. And we basically he was like North Korea and I was like South Korea. Okay, we had a mutual non-aggression thing, but if he was in one room, I would go in the other room. Okay, we just didn't get along.
So
right?
how old was this guy at that time?
Oh, at the time he was like in his late 40s, early 50s. I was in the armed services. I worked. It's my turn to glide into the night and whatever. Right, just the George unit. So when they demoted him, right, I just laughed my ass off. I said, "Hey, you did everything they told you to, and they still demoted you. How did that taste?" He's like, "I should have fired you when I had to." Oh, well, yeah, you should have. You should have. And it was funny because he got demoted, right? And then when they tried to fire him, and you'll get kicked. I know you won't see this coming. When they tried to fire him, he said, "Oh, you can't fire me because I have a disability, and if you fire me, I'm going to sue you." So they demoted him from store manager to assistant manager to assistant janitor. Okay? So he's 64 years old. He can't retire, and they can't fire him, right? Because he retained a lawyer, and he's like, "Listen, this is my job. My job is to change light bulbs. My job is to fill those gumball machines. That's my job. I don't do anything else." When at the end of his career, he was literally, and he used to tell people, he was like, "Don't change," because by that time I was a store manager, right? And he's like, "Don't change your light bulbs, right? It's my job to change light bulbs in the whole district." I'm like,
so the same guy who was preaching to you that you had to know how to do everything
eventually told me before he retired not to change light bulbs or fill the gumball machine because that was his job. Again, it was a great irony, okay? But the funny part of it is that everything he was mad about was because I was making 15 cents more an hour, okay? And again, I'm not saying I was obnoxious. I'm not saying I wasn't this or that, but I came in and I did what the night manager told me. I'm like, if you're not happy with my performance, go talk to the night manager. Tell him to wash dishes during the day. So anyhow, so he died. And a bunch of my friends from Taco Bell are like, "Oh, your enemy's dead." I'm like, "Good." They're like, "Are you going to his funeral?" I'm like, "Why did I go to my enemy's funeral for?" Right? I'm like, if I knew where he was, I'd go piss on his grave. Okay? Because I'm still pissed off about it from when I was 18 years old. And the guy's like, "Oh, you don't seem to understand the way the world works." I'm like, now looking back on it, the problem is I knew more of how the world worked than I like to admit. "You don't understand, I don't get my bonus because you're making over minimum wage." And
so I'm trying to do the math that 15 cents an hour is what, about $300 a year?
Yeah. So he was, and the first 2 years, so the whole point of my whole story is the first 2 years I worked with him, he says, "I'm probably going to fire you tomorrow. You need to give me a reason to stay." I'm like, "Well, I don't know what to tell you. You're the boss. If you fire me, then I'm fired. And if you don't fire..." And then, don't get me wrong. I was a kid. I was afraid. I was like, "Oh, crap, don't fire me." But after a year or so, I'm like, "I dare you to fire me. Okay? Who's going to work as hard as me? Who's going to come in and close?" "Well, you know what? I should fire you for being an ingrate." Okay. There we go. I can walk across the street to Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
"They won't give you 15 cents more an hour." So
yeah, it's funny. It's like somebody threatening to fire you from a job like that. It's like,
right.
And they think they're threatening to fire you from like Ford or
And again, and I can't beat this into the ground enough. I understand because I was a manager. I understand kids want to work. Some kids don't want to work. Some people care. Some people don't care. Okay, but if you're gonna be that anal about 15 cents an hour, you can rot in hell. You have fun. I'll see you in a couple of years. Okay? And again, people get mad. Like me and you might get mad. And I'll be like, "Oh, you think you're so smart." Every single goddamn day. 15 cents more an hour. Do you know you make 50? Yes, I know I make 15 cents more an hour. And all I do is wash dishes all night. So anyhow, the point of my whole story is that he's dead. There's a gravesite somewhere, and I would piss on it, but I wouldn't knock it over. I wouldn't kick it over, and I wouldn't deface it. Okay? Because my free speech does not include defacing statues or monuments. Okay? Even if I was in the right,
So if you knew where his grave was, would you really do that?
Oh yeah, yes. If don't. Nobody watches this anyhow. But say they did. Don't send me where his gravesite is, because I'm going to piss on it. Okay? Tony Rizzo always talks about he hates the Pittsburgh Steelers. He pissed on Heinz Field. Right? Well, piss is nothing. You piss on something and you can make a joke about it, but, it dissolves in the ground, it waters the posies or whatever. Okay? But that guy, like I said, screw him. Okay? And when I did the few times I did a good job in his eyes, he's like, well, I'm glad we're paying you 15 cents more an hour.
You're finally earning.
Yeah, you're finally earning that 15 cents. So yeah, here. You want to do the math? We can do the math. Okay, 15 cents more an hour, say 40 hours a week. 40 times 15, okay? This is awesome, okay? This is awesome webcasting right here. Okay, 20 is 60... So that's $6 a week. $6 times 52. So that basically comes to like you said, $318 a year. So for 2 years, I had to hear how much I sucked over $300.
And the funny thing is that after taxes, you don't even.
No, it's not even $300. I made an extra $300 than the next schlub next to me. It's like, okay, so he made $12,000 and I made $12,300. It's like, yeah, that was worth getting berated for 2 years over. I'm sorry, Ted's getting a kick out of it. But again, back to the free speech issue. Even if I hate him, okay, I can't kick that over.
Well, that reminds me of that Jim Carrey movie, The Mask, when he's working at a bank. Did you ever see that?
Yeah.
And he comes in and that guy says to him, I don't know if it's his supervisor.
Oh, liar, liar?
No, it's The Mask.
The Mask, I'm sorry.
He works at a bank and he comes in and the guy, he's like his supervisor, he's a real dick. Uh-huh. He goes, you're 10 minutes late, that's the same as stealing.
Well, you know what? I figured it out. I got terminated from a place, and you know where that place is, right?
Uh-huh.
Because I went home on break when I wasn't allowed to, right? If you figure out how much money it costs the company for me to go home on break, I actually figured it out. This is how much it costs. Okay? That's how much I got fired for. Okay? So, at the end of the day, that company can go screw itself too. And that's going to come out of someone's ass one day. You know what? You know what I think I'm going to do? You'll get a kick out of this. I'm going to take that dollar amount, $4, okay? And I'm going to put it on Post-it notes, and I'm going to put it all the way around the room. And then every time I have an evil thought, I'm going to rip one down. Okay? And again,
I don't know where you get an idea like that.
I keep telling you. I keep trying to say, you should take Beacon of Speech. I got a great idea to make Beacon of Speech work, to make money, blah, blah, blah. Every time I get shot down, when I was a kid, if I would fail, I'd be like, oh, I'm such a loser. What am I such a loser for? And I'd have anxiety. And that sounds familiar, right? You have self-doubt, anxiety. How can I go on? I'm the problem. Every time I fail now with Beacon of Speech, it just makes me madder. You know what? Because now I'm like, you know what? When Beacon of Speech is successful, I'm going to make an enemies list. I'm going to be like Richard Nixon. And I am going to be pissing on grave sites. And I think I'm going to take $4 out of that guy's hide.
Oh,
that's my phone. My phone's ringing. Should I go get that phone?
I can go get it if you want.
Yeah, go get that. I don't know where it's at. So, you know what? Someone's ears are ringing. I shouldn't talk about anger and hate live on the air, but again, we were talking about flooding, and what's our next thing? We're going to talk about the boxing match. Who's texting me stuff? My mom. If you want to skip, Dad says okay, not that long. Okay. Oh, it's my mom, but I'll take that later.
Is that the grass?
Yeah. I gotta call her, but I'll call her once we're done with the thing. So, you like the ringtone?
Yeah, that's It's very upbeat.
Yeah, so that's my other job, is cutting my grandfather's lawn. So
I just remember, and I don't know what you were talking about that made me think of this, but I remember George Carlin said, he goes, you know how they have like gas that like affects people's nerves?
yeah, nerve gas.
He goes, why don't they have like gas that like causes like crippling self-doubt?
Ted!
Wouldn't that be like more destructive?
Ted, I'm going to write that down. Where's my thing? Okay. I'm glad you brought this up. Crippling
Because you were talking about when you were young and you would fail.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I would fail and be like, oh. Now it just like makes me madder. I'm like, you know what? If somebody says this beacon of speech sucks, I'm going to do 2 more beacon of speeches. And I'm going to be even madder. Cuba. It has been very underpublicized. Did you know that Cuba launched a weapon of mass destruction against the United States this week?
No, Cuba?
Cuba. Somewhere there is an American embassy right next to the Canadian embassy, right next to a couple other embassies of Western countries, right? Somebody took a sonic gun, shot sonic waves at the American embassy. No sound, and these sonic waves caused brain damage in American diplomats' heads.
This is the embassy in Cuba?
Embassy in Cuba for America, and I keep reading little snippets here and there. Little stories here, little stories there. And they said, well, who could have done it? Well, I don't know. We've only been at war with Cuba for 70 years, and don't get me wrong, I agree with Obama when he said, it's time to normalize relations, because it's stupid to, be at war with Cuba. One of the statues I said we should put up at the Beacon of Speech place. Do you remember Grenada?
Mm-hmm.
We went to war with Grenada. Do you know who the admiral was? You know who was the leader of the army for Grenada?
No.
I don't remember his name either, but I wrote it down on the article. And I said we should build a statue to him because Grenada was a big win. Okay, 300 million versus 70,000, and we won big. Right? Great job. Okay, great job, America. Okay. We rolled up on Grenada, and did you know when we attacked Grenada, there were 34 North Korean troops in Grenada helping to defend the country. Not 3,400, 34. Okay? So the point of my story is I don't know, what was the point of my story?
You were talking about Cuba.
Oh, so Cuba has used a weapon that hasn't been used before to fry the brains of American diplomats. That's a declaration of war. Okay? Just like when
this fries their brains, or does it destroy their hearing?
No. Fries their brains. They said they have brain damage like they got in a car accident.
Wow, I didn't even hear about this.
Yes. So it's an act of war just like Benghazi. Part of the reason Benghazi is a huge problem is because if you attack an ambassador, technically that embassy is American land.
Yeah.
Okay? So say Jill and Joe American, they're on a backpacking trip in Afghanistan and they get killed by the Taliban. Okay? Well, what the fuck were you doing taking a backpacking trip through Afghanistan? But once you kill American ambassadors, that is a declaration of war. That's the demarcation.
Yeah.
Right? So their brains aren't fried where they're walking around like this. Okay? But their brains are fried like they were playing for the Cleveland Browns and they all have CTE. You see what I'm saying? They can see that in a brain scan that there was some sort of damage done to their brains. And again, it's very underpublicized because they're talking about Donald Trump and statues.
Mm-hmm.
Number one thing on the news should be the floods, which it is. Okay? But number two, they should be talking about what the hell is happening in Cuba.
I didn't even hear.
If they're going to shoot sonic guns at our ambassadors, we have to pull back out of Cuba.
And they don't know who did it?
they don't know who did it, but I'm sure they could. I'm sure there's lots of loyalists to Castro who's like, I think we should be at war with America. We shouldn't have an American embassy right down the street. And I am not a warmonger. I'm not. But if you're going to invade Grenada, Cuba isn't going to stand too much more opposition. And Trump made the mistake of saying that he's going to Afghanistan. There is no... How do you win Afghanistan?
Nobody's been able to do it.
No, nobody wins Afghanistan. Pull out of Afghanistan. Pull out of Cuba. Don't invade Grenada. Get the fuck out of everywhere. Okay? At this point, there's almost no places you should... Puerto Rico wants to become a state. If Puerto Rico wants to be a state and everybody agrees, then they can become a state. But we need to pull our military out of places.
Would you agree with Puerto Rico becoming a state?
Depends on what kind of mood I'm in.
Don't they still have financial problems?
They said that if every state has to balance their budget, right? It's in the state constitution. Well, they said that if Puerto Rico became a state, they would have to get billions of dollars from the United States because they couldn't balance their budget. So Puerto Rico wants to be a state so they don't have to pay off their crippling debt, right? Again, they're not doing it because they love America, and they're not doing... Again, everything is all about me, me, me. They want their crippling debt paid off so they don't end up like Greece, right? Where you're in the austerity program for 20 years.
So Puerto Rico is like somebody, they're like gold diggers.
Yeah. But if you call them gold diggers, then you're back to the circle of, well, you're a racist, you don't want to help the Hispanic population. And so now you have to tread lightly, but, I would say pull troops out of countries and restation them on territories in states like Puerto Rico and bring American jobs back. Jobs in Aleutian Islands, jobs in Hawaii, jobs in Guam. Pull them out of other countries. We don't need to be in Germany anymore.
Yeah, what do we got, about like 50,000 troops in Germany?
Yeah, pull those guys out. They're done. Germany's having the same problems we are, and they don't have a constitution. And I know this is shocking to you, but I keep reading stories about the Nazis in Germany. They're getting all pissed off that there's a whole bunch of immigrants in their country. Isn't that shocking?
Yeah.
It's like history repeats itself.
Yeah.
They killed the Jews. Jews are gone. Jews are in Israel. There's almost no German Jews. Okay? Then Germany says, we don't have enough people. We're not repopulating fast enough, so we're going to bring in immigrants from Syria. And then all of a sudden the right rises up and says, we're going to kill all the Jews. Oh, the Jews are gone? We're going to kill all the immigrants. It's like, oh, who didn't see that coming? Yeah. And so that's why you got to worry about Germany, but it's like, well, screw it. That's what the Germans do. You know what I mean? If I was an immigrant from Syria, okay, and they said, where would you like to go live? Okay, the last place I'm going to pick is Germany. Okay, the last place. Now, because I'm partial German, right? Fred, you have to leave the country. Where are you going to go? Well, I'm going to Canada, but maybe I'll go to Germany because, I could probably... Look, let's look at the profile. Look at my nose. Do you think I could pass as a German? Do you think my profile? Yeah. So I'd be all right, okay? But I'm telling you, if you're an immigrant in Germany, you're screwed, right? I don't see how you don't see that coming. Okay, that's history. You go to Russia and it's like, oh, they don't want you there. You got to head for, real liberal places like Scandinavia or France.
France, yeah.
And, the French are like, we don't want you. But, once I'm there, I'll be like, oh, screw you. I'm going to blow up the Eiffel Tower. And they're like, oh, they blew up the Eiffel Tower.
And even Britain probably wouldn't be that bad.
Oh, no. And, like I said, you watch the Premier League and, the Premier League is now a multicultural event. It's not like the German. But the point is everything circles back to statues. We don't need to build any more statues for any more, admirals, generals, whatever. Maybe we need to take a little break from war. Take a little break from Afghanistan. Take a little break from war. Okay? You ready to take a break from war?
War?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, next week, what's going to happen is somebody's going to write me back and say Beacon of Speech sucks. And then I'm going to come on and say I have freedom of speech. Let's declare war on 20 different countries. I'm going to be like, screw them all. So,
although it does seem like we're making a lot of progress against ISIS, though. No, it does.
Yeah, it does.
But when they're driving ISIS out of these places, are they killing most of these guys, or are they just?
Yes. But
they are killing them.
Yes, but
that's good.
Here's your problem with ISIS. Okay, are you ready? Now, Donald Trump, you love him. I don't. Okay. For 20 years, every time the United States says we're going to do something, they don't look ahead and say, what is the ramification? So when we invade Iraq and we free Kuwait and then we charge through Iraq and say we're going to occupy, they don't think 2 steps ahead to say what's going to happen. Obama, when he pulled the troops out of Iraq, he was like, oh, we'll just pull the troops out of Iraq. Oh, ISIS came? Who could have seen that? All right. Once they defeat ISIS, what happens? I'm asking you, what happens when we defeat ISIS? Because I know what's going. I'll make the prediction right here. What happens when we defeat ISIS?
Well, defeat ISIS, what, in Iraq? Or
in Iraq and Syria. What happens?
What happens? I don't know. Tell me.
Okay. Where's predictions? Predictions. The day after ISIS is defeated.
Does Iran get a stronger influence?
Nah, screw it. No. What's going to happen is it's going to be a different war. Okay? Northern Iraq is filled with Kurds. Are you familiar with the Kurds?
Yes.
You've heard of it. Now, the Kurds want their own country like the old Soviet Union.
We're more or less friendly with the Kurds.
We're friendly with the Kurds. They want their own country like Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, or whatever the hell it is, right? You know those countries that used to be the Soviet Union, right? The Kurds want to declare their own country. Northern Iraq will be Kurdistan. Okay? As soon as Kurdistan declares their independence, Turkey does not want an independent Kurdistan. They hate the Kurds. They're going to declare war on the new Kurdistan. Okay? And then, all of a sudden, once Turkey declares war on Kurdistan, then the Syrian, I don't know if there's any Syrian Kurds, right? They're going to be like, holy cow, we are going to declare war on everybody. And they said, as soon as ISIS is defeated, Iraq is going to break into 3 parts. And who's to say if Iran isn't going to attack the Baghdad part, Turkey's not going to attack the Kurdistan part. You see what I'm saying? So guess what, Ted? New war. Yeah. What are we going to do about the Kurdistan war? They're wiping out the Kurds. Well, guess what? Everybody's trying to wipe out the Kurds. Okay? Because nobody wants a free Kurdistan.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like it's just going to be a constant war in that region.
And that's why when Iran took the hostages, people don't realize that right afterwards there was an Iran-Iraq war for 8 years. Okay? Yeah. And they said that it decimated both populations. Well, let them fight.
And it was actually, it was Iraq that invaded Iran, right?
Ted, the Iran-Iraq war, you are killing me. I'm going to have to look it up, but I think you're right.
Yeah.
But again, what is the right answer? There is no right answer, because as soon as you say
we're going to be involved in it to a degree.
Yeah.
So, like probably forever.
Yeah. And that's why I say get the hell out of Afghanistan, get out of there everywhere. And even, Bill Clinton's like, well, we got to go save the people in Somalia. How'd that work out? The Somalians are extra grateful to us, aren't they?
Well, that was another thing. That started off as a humanitarian.
Right.
And that was actually started under H.W. Bush.
Right. And so, again, how do you fix Iraq? Well, at this point, there is no right answer, because even if once you stomp out, and I'm not saying don't stomp out ISIS, but I'm telling you, once ISIS is done, whoever heard, first everybody in America learned about Osama bin Laden, right? And then it was Al Qaeda, and then they said, well, ISIS is replacing Al Qaeda. You know what I mean? Something else will replace ISIS, right? Get the hell out of there. Okay, if you got to stay in a few spots, that's fine. But we need to get the hell out of Afghanistan, out of Iraq, all these places. Once they're stabilized, go kill each other all you want. Okay?
But that's the problem. As soon as we leave, then they become unstable.
Right. And so they're like, well...
So you say once you get stabilized, then get out.
Yeah.
Well, then it becomes unstable immediately.
Yeah. So it's a catch-22.
Yeah, you can't... There's no matter what you do, you're wrong. It's just trying to be less wrong.
Yeah. And again, I don't blame Obama for getting out, but he's like, holy cow, I can't get out of here fast enough. And he mistakenly came out and said, well, everything's good. Well, guess what? It's not good. Just like the analogy of Germany persecuting the immigrants. So guess what's going to happen in about 5 or 10 years once the right wing starts rising up? They're going to make little, immigrant ghettos, and then people will be like, what the hell is going on in Germany? This is, that's what they do.
Yeah. Who saw this coming?
Yeah. We're not doing predictions 5 years out, because there's a good chance I'll have a heart attack or a stroke. Okay? So I won't be so angry. I want to talk about one or two other things since we got bogged down in world events. Joe's vacation. Joe is the third part of Beacon of Speech, and we don't see him very often. Joe's on vacation. Does he miss us in Ohio?
I doubt it.
Joe looks happier online than I have seen him maybe in his whole life. Okay? And that's because he was able to step away from his situation. We'll just say his situation would be vague, because he's not here to defend himself. But I am glad that Joe's on vacation. I'm glad he's having a good time. I'm glad he's out in the Oregon forest where he's not going to get called or harassed for being 5 minutes late by employee. There's an employee that works underneath Joe who doesn't know how to turn on and off a computer. Okay? You know who that is. Mm-hmm. And that guy's like, can you do my work for me, Joe? And Joe can't fire him. Right? So I'm glad that Joe is having a good vacation. Okay? But we were talking about wars and things.
Now, have you communicated with Joe?
Literally one sentence. It was like, glad you're having a good time. Looks like you're having fun. Something like that. Now, we're talking about floods. We're talking about wars. Things that matter. I want to talk about something that doesn't matter and how America is. Okay? This is America in a nutshell. Okay? Now, last night was Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor. It was the fight. Conor McGregor was guaranteed $30 million for fighting. Floyd Mayweather was guaranteed $100 million for fighting. And I'm going to tell you what I saw, and I'm going to tell you how I broke the law, and I'm going to tell you what I saw and how you cannot win in America. Okay? Floyd Mayweather was a champion of UFC. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Floyd Mayweather was a champion in boxing. He was 49-0. Conor McGregor was a champion in UFC. He was like 20-3. Okay? Mayweather said, I will fight you on my terms. It has to be boxing. I won't fight you in MMA. I'll box you. Mm-hmm. So he already has the home field advantage. And McGregor says, okay. He goes, I will fight you, but I get $100 million. You get $30 million. McGregor said, okay. Okay. Now, all the judges were boxing judges. The guy reffing the game, the guy reffing the match, he was a boxing referee. And the three guys scoring on their cards at home were all boxing referees, right? So McGregor was the ultimate underdog. Okay? So I had somebody live stream it from where they were watching it, because you can do live streaming. And I won't give up his name because I won't get him in trouble. But so I'm watching a pixelated version of the fight. First round, McGregor won. And there's a point to my story. First round, McGregor won.
I'm trying to figure out who the person is.
I don't think Mayweather threw more than one punch. Okay? McGregor won the second round. McGregor won the third round. He won the first 3 rounds. Then Mayweather won the next 3. Okay? So it's a 6th round. And on the card, and it wasn't just me. Okay? I'm looking at Sports Illustrated. I'm watching their live card. I'm watching the Daily Mail. I'm watching their live card. And there was another website I was watching their live card. Everybody had it after 6 rounds as a statistical draw. The fight was even. Okay, not just me, but I agreed with them. I'm looking to see what I'm watching the fight, and I'm looking at cards online at the same time, right? 7th, 8th round, there was a little bit of discrepancy. By the 8th round, everybody either said it was even or slightly to Mayweather, okay? Then all of a sudden, Mayweather woke up. He realized, holy cow, I can't let this go to a card. I can't let this go to the cards. I better start fighting, just start pounding on McGregor. Well, McGregor, in classic fighter style, what happens when you get a tired fighter? Your hands fall, you're low, you're taking punches, right? So by the 10th round, McGregor doesn't even have his hands up. He's like boing, 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 boing. And the referee jumps in, hugs McGregor, waves the fight off. I think he had taken... I don't remember
so
what
it was
the number was.
A technical...
A TKO. He never fell down. He's on the ropes. Right? He had taken like 16 to 17 punches in a row. And his hands aren't up. They're down. Right? So you could imagine, all of a sudden... McGregor's like, I'm fine. Don't have the fight, right? And, Mayweather knows he's won. I won. And you can argue whether the fight should have been stopped. Some people say yes, some people say no, but I think it's semantics, okay? It comes out today that the 3 judges had McGregor winning the first round, and that was it, okay? So there was no way for McGregor to win. No way. He was playing in a sport he's not used to playing in. Environment he's not used to playing in. Referee's not used to. And then the judges, you find out after the fact, weren't even giving him rounds that he had won. He was the ultimate underdog. And they're like, well, that's the way it works. Everything in America is slanted one way. Right? Now, could McGregor have pulled it off? Probably not. Okay? In theory, he had a puncher's chance. He could have got lucky. But Mayweather, again, the first 3 rounds, he's got his hands up. You can't get a clean shot to the face if you got your hands up. 3 rounds. This is how Mayweather's boxing. Okay? Don't hit me in the face. And again, don't get me wrong. In round 10, he was winning on the cards. Mayweather was winning on the cards. But there's no way he had won 9 of the 10 rounds. No way. Okay? But again, everything is stacked. No matter what you do. College football. Everything's stacked one. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. No matter what sporting event, with the exception of maybe the NFL, where it's not really stacked one way. It's the adventures in socialism. We're going to have a salary cap. We're going to do this and this. But even where there's places that have a salary cap, like the NBA, the players are like, we don't want to play in Cleveland. We want to go to New York or LA. And it's just like everything else. Everything in America, nothing is we all get equal opportunity. Now, people will turn around and say, that's how Black Lives Matter feels. That's why there's a Black Lives Matter. Well, the problem is, it's not just like that for that. It's like that in sports, in business. Everything is slanted towards the people who make the rules, no matter what it is. Mm-hmm. And it's
and they'll tell you, then you just have to become one of the people who makes the rules.
Yeah. And then when you make the rules, like, I'm going to write this down. I'm not going to say it out loud.
If you work hard enough, then you can become one of the people who makes the rules. If
you work hard enough, then you can make the rules, and then everything will be slanted your way.
Yeah.
Well, again, welcome to America. And Joe always says, well, we're not digging ditches, right? But that still doesn't mean that there's not stuff for everybody to overcome. Some people have worse luck than others. Somebody, and I'll use an example. Say you're young and you get cancer, right? Well, that sucks. That slants the deck against you because you got to fight cancer. You don't have all the time you have to, work. You have, a disease to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole McGregor fight was, it was like America in a nutshell. You know what I mean? And McGregor, don't feel bad for him. He was happy to make $30 million. He's like, I got the crap beat out of me for $30 million. I lived the American dream. I left poverty in Ireland they said that he was on food stamps or unemployment when he was 24 years old. And now he's 30. And now he's making $30 million a fight. But then you turn around and say, well, how'd you make $30 million? Oh, I let some guy punch me in the head for half an hour. And even Crystal said last night, she goes, would you let somebody punch you in the head for half an hour? I'm like, maybe when I was younger, but not now. I don't think I can take it.
Yeah.
But would you let somebody punch you in the head for half an hour for $30 million?
Well, the thing is that I'd probably die.
Well, and that's the whole thing. Conor...
Yeah, I mean, if I could take it as well as he did, I would.
Yeah, well, and
but
that's
I know
the thing.
I can't.
Conor McGregor in the first round, okay, he's got one hand here, kind of protecting, and the other one, his other hand out to keep Mayweather away, right? He kept his hand up like this. And you don't see many boxers with this style, one arm out and one up, right? Most of them keep them like this.
On his head so he couldn't...
Almost like that. But he had his hand out, which is unorthodox for a boxer. And so that's why I'm like, what's he doing? Right? And he's trying to keep Mayweather at an arm's distance. That's his, thing. Well, Mayweather's like this. Well, he's going to keep his arm up. I'm going to keep my, fists up. But again, everything was slanted. When I saw that scorecard, and again, that's why boxing isn't popular in America anymore. I could see the fight, and I could see respected people at Sports Illustrated and Daily Mail who were judging it, who were smarter than me, who were saying, oh no, it's an even fight. There were 8 rounds, it's even. I got it even. And then you find out the next day it wasn't even at all. I'm like, well, what did I watch? And me and you have talked about boxing, I used to watch boxing matches when I was a kid. I watched Dooku Kim get killed. I saw that. So I
didn't see it, but I remember reading about that.
But that's why I'm saying, I keep saying...
Was that Mancini who...
Yeah, Ray Boom Boom Mancini killed him. But, well, yeah, he did. But the point is that that's why I keep saying football is boxing from a generation ago. Okay? They just announced that 2 high schools in New Jersey said that they cannot get insurance coverage for their football team, and they had to disband their football team just this week. High school football.
In New Jersey?
In New Jersey. And they said the numbers are shrinking, and they said look for the dominoes to start to fall. And this is what I've been saying. And boxing's like, we're fine. We just got a $500 million pay-per-view event. Well, guess what? That was a gimmick. You know what I mean? That's, Phelps versus Shark. That's what McGregor Mayweather was.
I can't believe the money that those guys made.
Well, that's the thing. They were guaranteed $130 million. 100 for Mayweather, $30 million for McGregor, right? They said once the pay-per-view amounts come in, because people were ordering right up to the last minute, right? They get a cut. So when they say $100 million and $30 million, they said that's minimum.
And it was $100, the pay-per-view?
$100 pay-per-view. So they said that Mayweather could come down with almost $200 million once all the pay-per-views counted, and McGregor could make up to $60 million once it's all counted. Well, again, would you get punched in the head for $30 million? $60 million, Ted, would you get punched in the... You know what I mean? It's like, no, I don't think so. Again, when I was younger, and maybe if I could train and defend myself better, right? Maybe, but not now. Like I said, I'd be dead. like you said, I'd be
Mhm.
dead laying on the canvas, and they'd be like, "Your
Here's
widow."
your money.
Yeah, here's your money, and it goes to my widow, and then she finds a good-looking 30-year-old. You know what I mean? So I don't know, where's your money going? You leave it to your employer. Give it to Ram in the Bush, and they'll get back together.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna tie this up because I see what time it is. I gotta call my mom back. And next week we're probably gonna be off for Labor Day. Are you gonna do anything fun?
Nah, not that I know of.
Okay. I think I am gonna do some stuff with family. That'll be fun. So we might dance around the maypole, or is that Memorial Day? Oh no, that's May Day. So hey, me and you are working on an article. What do you want song of the day to be?
What do I want song of the day to be?
Yeah, what do you want song of the day to be?
Well, I'll just say this because I've been hearing it a lot lately. St. Elmo's Fire.
St. Elmo's Fire by Jack Parr, is that correct?
John Parr.
John Parr. St. Elmo's Fire. Is he going to be one of your top 50?
No, because I really don't know that much about him. I just
Jack
know
Parr.
John Parr.
John Parr.
Jack Parr is the guy who came before Johnny Carson.